Holy hell, was that episode good? That episode had me laughing from start to finish. That episode, I think that was my favorite episode so far. Just the jokes in it were just really, really incredible. It was just... Okay, this episode started off with Jack waking up in the snow, because in the last episode he went and fell off the tree, and we didn't really know what happened to him after that. We thought, well, I guess he got swallowed by whatever it was, but no, he hasn't been swallowed yet. So he walks around and he sees Ashi, and she's in this pool of blood, and he's like, goes and walks up to her, and he's like, you can see he regrets it. Then all these crows that are there are going like, murder, 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 murder. And he's like, no, it is not murder. They chose it themselves. So he's pretty much going and getting all these hallucinations. After that, Ashi wakes up and goes and attacks him. But just in a few seconds, he goes and ties her up and gets her in her own chains. So she's then going and swinging in the chains, going like, die, 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 scum, scum, scum. That part got me laughing, because she did that in the last episode, and now she's doing it again, and a lot of people are going and making fan art of that. That part was great. So Jack goes to go and tries to convince her he's not the bad guy, Aku is, but she doesn't listen, she doesn't care, she thinks he's the bad guy and Aku is not. So after that, they go and get swallowed by this giant worm thing that's just completely huge. So as they're falling in, Ashi tries to attack him while they're falling in, and Jack is just like, seriously? I was like thinking the same thing. I'm like, you guys are getting swallowed. You can kill him later, okay? This isn't the time for that. But she went and did it, so they go and fall down to the bottom, and Ashi goes and I guess kind of gets unconscious for a minute or two, and then they almost go and get attacked by these worm or these tick-like things. I'm not sure what they're supposed to be, maybe tapeworms, but and before that, Ashi's having a dream where she sees Samurai Jack dead, and then Jack ruins it. So, but Jack goes and takes the legs of one of these tick things and just slaughters all of them, and then he's pretty much going like, I'm trying to save your life, and she's just like, throughout the whole time. So after that, they go throughout the worm trying to go and save themselves, and Ashi throughout the whole time is just being really annoying, saying she's going to try to go and kill him no matter what. But then they get to this part where all these orb-like things, and Jack starts talking to one of them, and it's just like, she's not your friend, she's going to kill you. And he's like, ugh, we're trying to get out of here, we need to put that off later. And I'm just like, what is that thing? Why is it talking to him? And Ashi is just in the background looking like, what? So right after that, the past samurai comes, and he's pretty much just talking about how he should just leave her there and they should just leave, and because he tried to kill her, why save her? But she then goes and gets attacked by this crab, and Jack goes and kills that, and she is still ungrateful, and he's just like, wow, thanks. And then the orb thing comes back, and he's just like, what do you expect? A kiss and a hug? I was like, well, it's kind of early for that, but yeah, you really shouldn't expect that from her that early. So they make their way more and more, going throughout the whole thing, and then Jack comes across this thing where he puts the little armor on himself, and he's like, oh, not too shabby, right? Back fur. And she's like, it looks horrible. And he pretty much just takes that as a compliment. I love these two together. Just, they work great together. Just seeing them every minute, the way they work, I love seeing them together. I really hope they're in every episode for the rest of the series together. Just every minute of them together is pretty much perfect. Just, I love it. So, they make their way a little bit more until they get to that part with all the assets, and he's just pretty much just like, and says what he says in the trailer: we got to get rid of assets and use the flying animals. And then one thing that kind of looked interesting was that in the trailer it showed that part where Jack's standing right by the acid pool, but Ashi isn't in it. In the episode, she is. So I'm guessing they went and edited her out so they wouldn't spoil it, because that was a pretty big spoiler. So that was a big difference that wasn't in the trailer, but I understand why they took it out. So Jack goes and pretty much jumps on all these weird looking creatures trying to escape into a hole out of the worm, but then this giant other fish thing tries to go and attack them, and it won't let them, and they're pretty much falling and getting back up, falling and getting back up. Finally they get to the top, and it looks like they're not going to get out. And at first I thought it was going to be where Ashi was going to try to go and escape first, and then Jack wouldn't be, but at the last second Ashi would be like, okay, fine, I'll save you, and pulls her out, or him out. But no, they just went and jump out and go into the ocean. So after that they travel to an island. Lucky them, they're real close enough. And then Ashi goes and finds a little blade thing that she was carrying around, and she's thinking about going and killing him and from behind. But then she has this flashback where she sees this ladybug, and she's just looking at it and smiling. And then the mother is just like, you can't get distracted by these, and squishes it. But then she sees Jack doing the same thing by holding it, but instead of swishing it, he just lets it go. So after that, she's pretty much convinced Aku's the bad guy, he isn't. So she drops the thing and just sits down, and that's where the episode ends. This episode, it was really funny. Both funny and action-filled, and while the other episodes did have their funny moments, this episode was by far the funniest, and it was definitely because of the mixture of these two characters. I think I'm shipping them together now. I hope they get together in the end. I'm not sure how it would work out in the end, because would it be with if Jack got to the past, would she go with him? Or would Jack stay in the present with her? How would it really work out if they wouldn't ship them? But I think I do ship these two together. They work great. I really hope they get together in the future, because it's a great pairing. I loved it all. So, anything else to say about this episode? Any action was also pretty good. It wasn't as gory as the last few episodes were, but that's mostly because they were just traveling inside the worm. Pretty much the worst scene was with violence was probably when they were going and defeating those tick things, but then the blood was blue, and pretty much anything else, it still wasn't red blood. They also defeated that crab thing, but it had green blood. So the action was also really good, but probably not as great as the episodes, but still really good. This episode was pretty much just supposed to be a layback episode, just from all the action of the other episodes and the depression. So they just want to go and give us a big laugh, because I guess the April Fool's episode wasn't so funny to people. But hey, it's finally here, and in my opinion, it was well worth the wait. Great episode, I loved it. And let's see, the next episode, from what we saw in the trailer, it's pretty much like this giant army is going to go and attack Aku, and he's just like, oh, and he goes and just giant ball and bombs him. And it looks like at the really end of the trailer, the Scotsman, I think that's his name, is returning. So, but he's all old now, so that should be good. I'm not really sure if he and Jack are going to see each other, but it is really good to see him coming back. So this was a really good episode. I loved it all, and I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to the other episode as much as if Jack and Ashi aren't in it, but as long as Aku gets a lot of really good scenes, it should be a good episode. So that's all I really had to say about this episode. It was great. Definitely my favorite so far, and with this, there are 6 episodes left. So we're getting a little close to the end, but still have a little bit more to go. But as we get closer and closer, it's gonna get a little bit sad, but it's gonna be good either way.